welcome to the John K. Char Health Show. This is a continuation of our series on dental toxicity. Last time we talked about mercury amalgams, which are mercury-laden silver fillings, which has a combination of different types of metals. And we talked about how different dental materials can affect the body's health. We talked about gold crowns, and we talked about the cements, and we talked about different dentures, partial dentures. We talked about porcelain crowns, and we're going to talk a little bit more about implants and composites. Okay, so alongside of me is Adrian Chang. He's the nuclear engineer from and used to work at Pearl Harbor, right? So, tell me about what you used to do.
Well, my background was in refueling of the nuclear submarines for half my career. The other half was in radiological engineering. And I also used to be an instructor there. What I'd like to remind everyone as we go forth into this series, though, is that to remember that the body is electromechanical, not just skin and bones or flesh and bones. And as we proceed, you're going to see there is a lot of connection between electricity and dental materials and how it affects our health. Okay?
We talked about the different type of metals in dental amalgams and how it could create electrical impedance, which creates a problem with some of the cells. Now, what was your discovery on that? I mean, we had an incident in your family that had a problem, and then you started to study on the different facets of dental amalgams.
Well, yes, I had a brother-in-law that had cancer, and come to find out he had an older root canal that was redone, and the older methods of root canal involved putting a mercury and lead compound into the root, which made it like right into his bloodstream, direct intravenous. And we even had a hair analysis done that showed that he had a heavy load of mercury, and he was not a big fish eater. And but the thing that is really scary is that there are contraindications that do accompany the mercury filling material that's available to the dentist. Some of them don't even read it, unfortunately. I actually talked to a dentist, and he said, no, this can't be so. And he went into his storeroom, pulled out the box, looked at the thing and said, oh my God, yes, it's there, you know. Because, and I don't blame him, because, you know, it's his staff that orders the material. It's his staff that prepares the amalgam capsules, what they call it, spills, okay. And all he sees is the product and ready to put it into a patient's mouth, but he doesn't see the paperwork. And this particular company, Dentsply Clark, is one of the biggest, okay. And when they say in their contraindications, okay, do not put it next to dissimilar metal restorations. Like if you got gold crowns in your mouth, you don't want to put the mercury right next to it. It's going to cause galvanic reactions and electrical activity in the mouth. It says do not put it in your mouth if you got kidney problems, which many dentists do not.
Is it found in that contraindications in a dental amalgam box?
Yes, it's in the box.
It's in the box. And have any of the dentists give informed consent in where they actually...
Unfortunately, Hawaii does not have an informed consent rule. Okay.
But they sue on that. People sue for informed consent in medicine.
See, that's the thing is, the dentists are good people.
Yeah.
I don't want everybody to go run out and start, generating lawsuits
Sure,
and
sure.
put all the dentists out of business.
Sure, sure.
Who else?
The dentists.
Who is going to take care of our teeth?
That's right.
Right? I mean, we want everybody to be up and up. We want to be productive and proactive, and at least be concerned. If the manufacturer comes and says something, hey, you better pay attention, because if you don't, then you become part of the problem.
Okay, so tell me what it has on that.
Well, also the
Contraindication.
contraindications, besides about concerns with the kidneys, is you shouldn't be retrograde or using it for endodontic filling, which
Okay.
you explain what endodontic
That's right.
filling is. Filling,
The last filling.
capping it up after root canal.
That's right.
Okay, that's a simplified version. And also, you shouldn't be putting it in children under 6.
Okay.
Nowadays,
Pregnant woman.
and pregnant women,
All
okay.
right.
It is known, I've seen many studies, it is known that the mercury does cross the placenta barrier.
Well, just recently, about 3 weeks ago, the FDA said that it was safe. And what was your discovery 2 months hence to that?
Well, they can say it's safe, but the basis for them saying that it's safe is, we've used it for 150 years, and we put 1 million of these things in people's mouth, and we've had no problems.
Yeah.
Now, that if that is the primary basis, it's like saying, people have smoked cigarettes for 200 years, and how come not everybody got cancer and it's safe?
Yeah. Well,
And the
it's-
doctors used to come in advertisements in medical journals smoking cigarettes.
well, we can discuss that too, about the history of the American Dental Association. But we'll discuss that later, of how they were formed 150 years ago. I mean, that when a group of dentists met together and overrode those people who said, no, it wasn't safe, their dental colleagues. And so, but anyhow, we'll discuss that later on in the show.
Well, one last point I wanted to make on these contraindications, which actually happened to my family member.
Okay.
Okay. My family member had 3 fillings put in one day,
Yeah.
and 3 silver mercury fillings put in 3 days later. So it's total 6,
Yeah.
with a stainless steel cap.
Oh, stainless steel cap, okay.
So now you got different metals.
Right. And
you
nickel-
got 6,
nickel-based.
okay. And the contraindications, she does say to minimize the amount to be put in.
Yeah.
Now, when I discussed this with her dentist, who's also a good personal friend, and say, is 6 a good number? He said, I put in 10,
Oh.
and nobody complained.
Oh, yeah.
But you see, this is the really tricky part, because if you have a health problem that occurs 1 month or 6 months later, the medical doctor does not make the connection with the dental work. Okay, my daughter, this problem became evident when she was about 20 years old, and she remembered specifically that it was 7 years old, going on 8, that these symptoms came up, and it correlated with her dental records when I looked at it.
Wow. Well, that's scary, because you did your homework and you went up to the mainland, went to those seminars, and found out there was a correlation.
Yes.
We're going to go more into that, because we have a nice video coming out which will actually show you some of the research that was done. And so let's play the video on the dental amalgams.
trade with disastrous consequences for workers' health. This was well known. That's why we still say, mad as a hatter. Mercury is the third most toxic substance known to science. So what is dental amalgam? Amalgam, a mixture of one or more metals with mercury. The metal in this case is an alloy of roughly 40% silver, 30% tin, 28% copper and 2% zinc. The alloy is ground into a fine powder. That powder is then added to an equal amount of liquid mercury and mixed in the surgery to create a dental amalgam filling. Some of the mercury bonds with the surface of the alloy particles. The remaining free mercury escapes continually from the set material. In 1997, Cork Company, the manufacturers of Dispersalloy, stated that dental amalgam should not be used in the following situations: in proximal or occlusal contact to dissimilar metal restorations, in patients with severe renal deficiency, in patients with known allergies to amalgam, for retrograde or endodontic filling as a filling material for a cast crown in children 6 and under and in expectant mothers. Symptoms of chronic long-term low-level exposure to mercury vapor. Inhalation of mercury vapor over a long period may cause mercurialism, which is characterized by fine tremors and erethism. Tremors may affect the hands first, but may also become evident in the face, arms and legs. Erethism may be manifested by abnormal shyness, blushing, self-consciousness, depression or despondency, resentment and criticism, irritability or excitability, headache, fatigue and insomnia. In severe cases, hallucinations, loss of memory and mental deterioration may occur. Concentrations as low as 0.03 micrograms per cubic meter have induced psychiatric symptoms in humans. Renal involvement may be indicated by proteinuria, albuminuria, enzymuria and anuria. Other effects may include salivation, gingivitis, stomatitis, loosening of the teeth, blue lines on the gums, diarrhea, chronic pneumonitis and mild anemia. Repeated exposure to mercury and its compounds may result in sensitization. Intrauterine exposure may result in tremors and involuntary movement in infants. Mercury is excreted in breast milk. Paternal reproductive effects and effects on fertility have been reported in male rats following repeated inhalation exposures. The material safety data sheet for Titan, manufactured by Corp, states the placement of a dental amalgam in a patient will increase the levels of mercury in the body of the patient. The only place dental amalgam is not regarded as toxic waste is in a living human mouth.
All mercury-silver fillings leak substantial amounts of mercury constantly. The amount increases with any kind of stimulation, and as a result, mercury from fillings produces the majority of human exposure to mercury.
The U.S. Occupational Safety and Health Authority sets a maximum allowable mercury vapor concentration for a 40-hour-per-week occupational exposure at a time-weighted average of 50 micrograms of mercury per cubic meter. The United States Environmental Protection Agency regulates for everyone else, especially pregnant women and children. Their maximum allowable mercury vapor concentration is 0.3 micrograms of mercury per cubic meter. The U.S. Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry states that a transient exposure to levels of mercury vapor as low as 0.02 micrograms of mercury per cubic meter is considered acute, immediately hazardous to health.
Criteria 118, published by the World Health Organization in 1991, reports on dietary exposure to mercury. This was the first time that mercury from dental amalgam had been included as a dietary source of mercury. Air and water, negligible amounts. Other food, 0.3 micrograms per day of inorganic mercury. Fish and seafood, 2.3 micrograms per day of methylmercury. Dental amalgam, 3 to 17 micrograms per day of mercury vapor. The results indicate that dental amalgam provides a dietary source of mercury up to 6 times greater than all other sources combined, including seafood. A more recent study indicates that 2/3 of the mercury in the bodies of humans with amalgam fillings comes from the fillings. The tolerable daily intake, TDI, is the amount of a substance which most people in the population are able to cope with. It is not a safe level. In 1995, research commissioned by Health Canada was published. This was the first time mercury from dental amalgam was considered in an official risk assessment study. It sent shockwaves through the dental establishment. It found that the tolerable daily intake was exceeded in the case of adults with 4 or more amalgam fillings. For teens, this figure drops to 3. Children and toddlers can have only 1 amalgam filling before being exposed to levels of mercury above the TDI set out by the US and Canadian governments. This led Health Canada to issue new recommendations to dentists. Amalgam should not be placed in pregnant women, in people with kidney dysfunction, and should not be used in children. Dentists should acknowledge the patient's right to decline treatment with any dental material. The amount of mercury in the bodies of the children was directly proportional to the number of amalgam fillings in their mothers' mouths. Amalgam removal has been shown to be effective in reducing mercury levels to the levels of those in people without amalgam fillings. What you are seeing is the typical method of removing an amalgam filling as performed in dental surgeries throughout the world and as still taught in universities today. Cutting an amalgam filling immediately produces very high levels of mercury vapor in the mouth. Measurements 18 inches from the mouth in this procedure reveal levels of mercury vapor of 4,000 micrograms per cubic meter. Cutting an amalgam filling also produces a vast cloud of microscopic amalgam particles. These particles are easily inhaled all the way to the alveoli of the lungs, the final interface between the environment, air, and your blood. The longer the drill is touching the filling, the more mercury vapor and particles are being released. Most dental schools teach this as the way to remove dental amalgam.
With reference to the fact that mercury is a multipotent toxin with effects on several levels of the biochemical dynamics of the cell, amalgam must be considered to be an unsuitable material for dental restorations. This is especially true since fully adequate and less toxic alternatives are available. The safety margin it was thought existed with respect to mercury exposure from dental amalgam has been erased.
The no observable effects level is the lowest concentration of a substance in the environment that does not cause any observable effects in the human body. According to the World Health Organization, the NOAEL for mercury is 0. This means that exposure to any level of mercury, no matter how minute the quantity, constitutes a serious and avoidable risk to human health. There is no level of mercury in a room or a mouth that can be considered safe. Better alternatives to dental amalgam are readily available. Removal of dental amalgam is hazardous. Strict protocols must be applied for the safety of the patient and the dental personnel. Mercury is the third most toxic substance known to science. Mercury is released continuously from dental amalgam fillings for the life of the fillings. Mercury damages blood vessel walls. Mercury causes infertility.
You know, the thing is that we have to really be concerned with is early detection. Because some people already got amalgams in their mouth, or silver fillings, or different kind of dental materials that are toxic. And so you have to have some form of way to help assess it, to find out. Or if some people are going to get a filling in there, you've got to be able to tell what type of dental materials are biologically compatible to them.
Okay. Well, it just so happened I got a couple of checklists that I'll give you a copy, and anyone who wants a copy can call Dr. Char on it. And this one is from UCLA, and one of the questions they ask you is, have you recently had any major dental work? Now, this is very unusual to have a MD asking a patient about dental work that was recently done that could be affecting his health. And this other one here is a little shorter, is from one of the holistic dentists in Honolulu, and it asks specifically for mercury toxicities. But early detection is very important because you want to make sure it is from mercury fillings before you start spending all this money to, to have it taken out and replaced.
And we have basically some kind of now new technology now called Zytopro or the EIS, which actually can help you detect heavy toxic metals in the body, what type of metals are compatible or not to you. And in addition to that, find out where the source is. In other words, where does it go? Once you get toxified from those toxic elements, where does it affect? What does it affect an organ? Does it affect the brain? Does it whatever? And once you find that out, and you can try to start to say some treatment strategies to be able to purge that out of the system. And there's a certain way. Some people getting amalgams out right now, silver fillings out. And they say, well, can I get the silver fillings out? I says, yes, you can, but you should go through a detox program so then you can get your body to remove that out of the system. So when you take your fillings out, which is the highest amount of mercury vapor you're going to get, then you're not going to be sick. You're not going to be able to have the cells react in terms of an autoimmune disorder.
Well, this is pre-planning, okay? You have to know if you're going to put in fillings, what kind of composites are you going to use? If you're going to take out the mercury, you have to know what protocol is going to be used so that you don't inhale or ingest any of the particulates or vapors. And then, just as important though is detox. Okay, you have to know what protocols you're going to be using. You cannot take it out and then not detox, because you could very easily become ill or become worse.
That's right.
Very important to get good information, good guidance on detoxing.
And you have to find somebody qualified for it.
Right.
Because there are not many people who are qualified to do both. You know, some are qualified to do the dental part, but the detox might not be. And you have to work hand in hand with that, because
Yes.
it's just like a team. You work hand in hand to make sure that everybody's on the same page. In other words, everybody has that. So you make sure you get the detox. There's a timing to that, just before you take your fillings out, and right after that, whatever the fillings are out, you still got them in the tissue, so you also got to purge that out. But the body usually removes it from the lower part of the body, and then last part is through the brain. It comes down. So you have to do some kind of proper order when you do detoxing. So anyhow, we're coming down to the end of the show. So, we'll be talking about the dental toxicity in our next show. And we're going to talk about what types of diseases you can get from toxic metals in the body. We'll be showing some of the different compatibility in terms of the different kinds of fillings you use, and how It affects the brain, autonomic nervous system, and organs. So tune into the next show that we're going to be having. We'd like to thank Adrian again, and you're going to be on our next show again. And we'll be talking about how you can be able to even find the right biological compatible dentist, okay, or group of a team which do the detoxing, and the other one does the functional and cosmetic dentistry, and what kind of dental equipment you need in the office as a minimum to do the safeguard the patients from all the amalgam vapors and then all the scrap amalgams that fly out all over the place when you're cutting with a drill, and it goes into your mouth and you swallow it. Okay, so all these things we're going to be discussing on the next show, and stay tuned to our next show. I
can close.
Goes.
Okay. If you have any questions, I suggest to go to www.amalgam.org before you start calling Dr. Char and asking him 1,000 questions. Is to get some background, read up on it, and then lay out your questions and know what you want to ask.
Okay. Well, thank you, Adrian, and we'll see you in the next show.